Welcome back, friends. James Corbett here, CorbettReport.com, and on this week's edition of Propaganda Watch, we're going to look at a funny little news story that may have passed under your radar recently, and it's pertaining to Extinction Rebellion. Surely you have heard about Extinction Rebellion by now, the protest movement that has arisen, primarily, I think, so far in the UK, but it seeks to be a global organization that's seeking to raise awareness about Climate Armageddon, which is going to, as we know, destroy the world in 12 years? But wait, they were saying that last year, so I guess it's 11 years now. I wish they could come up with the exact date. Like, what month, what day is it that the world will end? I wish they could come up with that. Oh, wait, they change that every few years. Oh, we have 3 years left to save the planet. We have 12 years left to save the planet. We have 20 years left to save the planet. We have 96 months left to save the planet. Anyway, I've talked about that before. But as I say, you have heard of Extinction Rebellion by now, I'm sure. If not, you should take a look at my handy-dandy editorial that I created on the subject a few months ago, How to Protest Extinction Rebellion Style. A bit of a tongue-in-cheek look at the Extinction Rebellion movement and its actual effects. But one of the things that I noted there is that, well, of course, one of the things that you can do if you want to protest like Extinction Rebellion is to make sure to direct most of your rage at the working poor by doing such stunts as standing on tube trains to hold up traffic to prevent the working poor from actually going to their jobs that they need in order to barely make ends meet so that they can keep food on the table for their family. Yeah, that's sticking it to the man. Anyway, also in that editorial, I do link up to the very real demands that are posted at rebellion.earth, the homepage of Extinction Rebellion, which I hope you do go and check out for yourself, because you have to see their own words to really understand what this is about. Of course, their demands are, number one, tell the truth. Governments must tell the truth by declaring a climate and ecological emergency. Well, that would be a lie. Number two, act now. Government must act now to halt biodiversity loss and reduce greenhouse gas net emissions to net zero by 2025. Okay, so if we're not net zero by 2025, the world's over. Okay, so there you go. And remember that. Remember that date, folks. Don't let them change that date as we approach it. It is 2025 or nothing. And three, the most chilling by far, beyond politics, government must create and be led by, think about that, government must create and be led by the decisions of a citizens' assembly on climate and ecological justice. Yeah, just vague enough to be anything, but just specific enough to make sure that people with their fingers in that pie will get a piece of it. And if you don't know what fingers are in that pie, again, go back to my editorial where I document and lay out with copious links the very rich multi-billionaires and their organizations that are funding movements like Extinction Rebellion. But today I want to look at a very specific story that came up about Extinction Rebellion recently. This one we'll take from whatsupwiththat.com, which ran under the headline, Extinction Rebellion accused of faking a miners' protest. Miners are furious. Extinction Rebellion successfully fooled a BBC reporter into believing Extinction Rebellion protesters, dressed in cardboard safety helmets were actually miners demanding the closure of their own pits. And if you haven't seen it, there's footage of the report up online. I would suggest you take a look at it. And this article goes on to say, I guess we can't blame BBC reporter Jo Coburn for being fooled. She probably doesn't know what a real worker looks like. But as for Extinction Rebellion, has anyone else noticed they seem to have this desperate need to be accepted as normal people, but they aren't normal. Or at least they seem to come from a very narrow demographic. They mostly seem to be a bunch of idle, climate-obsessed rich kids. Well, that is an interesting point. Whenever you see these Extinction Rebellion, they're not very diverse groups, folks. It all seems to be young white people. And we know that diversity is important. So we can see that this is just a young rich white person group, right? Oh, wait, identity politics doesn't apply in this case, I guess. Anyway, so again, you can take a look at the footage. BBC, Politics Live, earnestly interviewing this Extinction Rebellion protester in front of these miners who are striking and protesting against their own mine, making factual errors about saying, for example, the community of Bradley, when Bradley is literally just the mine. There is no community there that is behind the protesters, as this Extinction Rebellion spokesperson is saying, and other such factual errors. And oh yeah, literal cardboard safety helmets that the people in the back are wearing, but they're totally real miners, guys. I mean, it's just nonsense. So here's my hot take on this particular piece of turgid fake news garbage served up by the MSM liars. Yeah. No, seriously, yay. Yeah, good on XR for doing this. This is exactly what needs to be done. Now, I wish there were people on other sides of the equation doing this type of thing, rather than people who are leading phony protest movements that are funded by billionaires for the bankster takeover of the planet. But I wish there were people really doing this type of thing for, I don't know, something important. 9/11 truth or health information or whatever it is, whatever your pet cause is. It's called culture jamming, folks. And if you're unfamiliar with the concept of culture jamming, well, I have a podcast episode in my archives on the subject, as you would expect. It's called Lessons in Resistance Culture Jamming. It was released a decade ago, but I think still relevant, and it includes material from, for example, the Yes Men, who are known for doing this exact type of thing, basically getting on BBC and other news programs pretending to be organizations that they are not. Remember about the Bhopal disaster, and they were announcing an emergency relief fund for the people, and then they find out, oh, you're not actually working for the Unical. You're not real. Oh, sorry, and they have to hang up, putting egg on the face of the mainstream media. Again, all of the culture jamming that I've seen along those lines, or at least the vast majority of it, is unfortunately coming from very controlled positions in the controlled left-right political spectrum, rather than actual truthful information. But the general point of culture jamming, I think, is an important one that seems to have largely been forgotten or ignored. I don't know if activism is even still a thing. I mean, people do talk online to the extent that they're allowed to by the controlled platforms that they seem to be absolutely addicted and wedded to. I will never leave YouTube because it's so much easier than any alternative. All right. Well, enjoy the censorship. But so people will talk online about things to the extent that they're allowed to, but who's actually doing anything to actually get the word out anymore? It's a dwindling art, and it is an art. So honestly, to things like this Extinction Rebellion fake minor protest thing, it's a great idea. Again, I just wish it was being employed for actual dissemination of truth rather than silly propaganda funded by the banksters. So let's think about this for a second. Is there anything trending in the news right now that creative and resourceful activists could use to try to get their own message out there? What are people thinking about and doing? Right? Oh, that's right. It's non-stop, 24/7 coverage of the most important pandemic in the history of humanity that is literally shutting down entire economies, going to send us into the global depression, utterly transforming our way of life. They're going to roll out the digital currencies. They're testing new emergency powers to keep you locked in your home. Absolute craziness going on. Is there a way that people could culture jam what is happening right now? Well, as James Evan Pilato has remarked in some of his recent coverage of Media Monarchy, when he was younger, he used to play all sorts of pranks on unsuspecting citizens for his own teenage lulz, as the kids say. Well, can you imagine what similar pranksters could do in this era? And I believe someone in the Corbett Report comment section was musing on, can you imagine if these flying drones that are yelling at people to go back into their homes was flying around yelling at people to do other things? I don't know. Go Google 9/11 truth or something like that. Well, don't Google it because you won't find anything. But you get the idea how one could culture jam this situation. So I am calling on you, Corbett Report, community, audience out there. I know that there are some creative and resourceful people out there. I'm calling on you. I need your ideas. And in fact, we all need your ideas because I'm not the one who is single-handedly going to do all this. You guys are. And there are ways to take this situation that is happening right now and to use it to wake people up rather than to send them to sleep. So there has to be some ways to take advantage of this situation. I have one idea of my own, and it's just the first stab at this, but we'll see how it goes. Tomorrow, on this channel, I'm going to release a special video. It is going to be the Corbett Report Challenge. For those who are bored while in lockdown, oh, it's so boring to stay at home, and I've got nothing to do but browse the net all day, we'll take the Corbett Report Challenge. Just watch these, say, 5 Corbett Report videos, and get back to me about what you think about this or that topic. Now, of course, you can do this in whatever way you want, but I will put out the video just as a general message to the general normie public in the most general way that I can. Hello, I'm James Corbett of CorbettReport.com, and you're being sent this video because your friend cares about you. Something along those lines. And it will be your mission to spread this message to others. See if you can get people to take the Corbett Report Challenge. The real question is, what 5 videos or podcasts or things, articles, would you recommend for people? Keeping in mind that hopefully the idea here is to send this out to people who are just dipping their toe in, or people who have no particular interest in the subject, no particular grounding in it. What are good entry-level things to send out to people? So I'm going to do this tomorrow on this channel. I'm going to release a video, and it will be your duty to help spread that video and get it around and get people to see if during this so boring lockdown and global depression that's about to come in and utter take over the economy, if you can get some people interested in some information that actually matters. So I will also need, for the Corbett Report community in the comment section, your suggestions for what beginner entry-level videos or podcasts you could use for this. Maybe not the most hardcore stuff right up front, maybe that would work. Again, you know your friends better than I do. But send them the video, take the Corbett Report Challenge, and then send them the backup of the links to the things that you think will be relevant for them, and perhaps just something to pass the time while you're in lockdown. Can we use this situation to get an actual, truthful, meaningful message out to the masses? Well, let's see. And as I say, I am looking for your guys' ideas. I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys come up with. And as I say, I'll be back tomorrow with a video that you can help spread around, and we'll see how it goes. So, culture jamming. It's an idea, folks. Let's think about it. James Corbett, CorbettReport.com.